All right, welcome to the September 10th, 2024, 6:30 p.m. City Council meeting. We do have a quorum, so I'll call this meeting to order. Would you please join me in a moment of silence? And the pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
City Clerk, would you please read the rules to speak?
Yes, sir. Individuals wishing to speak on agenda items must complete a sign-up card prior to the item being introduced. Those wishing to speak on quasi-judicial public hearings must complete a sign-up card and sign the oath. Sign-up and oath cards are available on the table. Individuals wishing to speak on non-agenda items may do so under petitions from the public present. This opportunity is offered twice in the meeting, and individuals may speak at either the first or second petitions, but not both. No sign-up card is required. Citizens shall not comment on any issue more than once during the meeting. All comments except petitions and requests must address the pending issues, and citizens will be given 3 minutes to speak. Citizens wishing to speak on the consent agenda item must submit a sign-up card identifying the items of interest. Each speaker shall be limited to 3 minutes to speak on the entire consent agenda. All sign-up cards and exhibits being submitted to City Council shall be placed in the box on the table.
Thank you very much. I do have the correct dates this time for the record.
Mayor, before you get to the minutes,
See, they stopped me.
the clerk did hand out a revised,
Right, I read those,
Yes, sir.
thank you. Although the writing was very small, I did get that done, thank you. So I need a motion to approve the minutes of the regular city council meetings on July 9th, July 23rd at 6:30 p.m. and the August 27th, 5:30 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Now the motion and a second, all those in favor say yes? Yes. Opposed? Motions are accepted. City manager.
And that, just to clarify the motion, that is as amended.
Correct. As amended.
Okay.
Approved as amended.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and City Council. We are on boards and commissions. The first item of business is the North Boulevard Hospital District Board. A presentation for their update will be given by, I think, Mr. Speck.
Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm well.
Good.
It's nice to see you all. Good evening, Honorable Mayor Diesel and members of City Council. I am Billy Speck, member of the Parish Medical Center Board of Directors. I'm joined by our hospital executive leaders, George Mkhitaryan, Natalie Sellers. I'd also like to recognize Councilman Herman Cole for his continued longstanding service on the Parish Medical Center Board. It is my honor to present Parish Medical Center's second semi-annual report for this year. A written report has been provided that summarizes the information in this presentation since my last report. This evening, I will highlight select announcements and performance results. It has been an extraordinary year for our hospital, a year of successes that can only be described as a post-pandemic resurgence, highlighted by growth, highlighted by expansion and enhancement of services for the benefit of our North Brevard community. This year, we have been relentless in our focus on fulfilling our mission. Parish Medical Center continues to serve as a leader among independent, public, not-for-profit health systems in the state of Florida and beyond, all without taxing the community for more than 29 years. The volunteer board of directors of Parish Medical Center credits the care partners. These are the employees, the medical staff, the members, the volunteers, and I'm proud to highlight the following list of successes achieved in the past year. We welcomed Mike Mooring as Chief Financial Officer. Mike is a talented financial executive with more than 31 years of experience building and leading and advising healthcare organizations in expansion. Mike came to Parish from the Cleveland Clinic Martin Memorial Medical Center in Stuart, Florida. We are so happy to have him on our team. He's doing a great job. At the June 3rd board meeting, the board received stellar results from an independent review of PMC's operating performance. The independent review was conducted in response to the Uniform Special District Accountability Act, which was passed in 2021 by the Florida legislature. The act mandated that all Florida independent special districts, including hospitals, conduct independent third-party reviews of their operational performance. PYA is the National Healthcare Advisory and Accounting firm that conducted the review on behalf of the state of Florida. Parish's president, CEO George Mkhitaryan, has published and will continue to publish a series of open letters to the community highlighting the results within each of the 5 performance areas evaluated. These letters were emailed to each of you. They are available to the public on the parish's website, and they are also provided within the written report to all of you, all in the interest of transparency. I would like to take this opportunity to reiterate a few key findings from the review. First, PYA reviewers wrote that PMC excels in delivering safe, high-quality care to its community. Quality improvements is the primary focus of PMC leadership. PMC has achieved marked improvements in quality within those areas where PMC has invested its focus and its resources. Most notably, according to the Leapfrog group that reviews hospital safety, PMC has earned an A grade, a grade consistent with PMC's pre-pandemic safety performance levels. From an access to care perspective for all of North Brevard citizens, regardless of their ability to pay, PMC provides a broad set of services for the community and is consistently making investments to improve upon the access to care within the community. Specifically, PMC has added over 50 healthcare providers and over 30 new programs since 2020, further demonstrating our commitment to North Brevard. PMC has invested $221 million through charity care, community building, and other community initiatives over the past decade. Even though by law, PMC can render a tax on the citizens in our community, the Board of Directors, in its desire to not burden local taxpayers, has chosen not to seek tax support as a means of supporting hospital operations for the past 29 years. Since my time on the board, I have been more than impressed with the board's commitment and leadership to not tax our citizens. In stark contrast with other communities in our state, where other Florida independent special district hospitals just in the past 7 years have levied $2.3 billion in ad valorem taxes collectively. Over the past 29 years, PMC, in its decision to not levy taxes on the community, has foregone at a minimum about $42 million in potential tax revenue. Something we're very proud of, although we don't receive a lot of acknowledgement for this achievement. Like most hospitals nationally, PMC faces challenges that management has identified and is working on. Some examples include longer than desirable wait times in the emergency department and in other select areas of financial performance. These challenges were intensified by the COVID-19 pandemic, but they're also the product of local market realities and of being a special district hospital in an economically challenged and competitive healthcare market. Management actively initiates mitigation and contingency plans when performance is not meeting expectations. An example of this is the recent announcement that Parish and Health First have resolved their differences and are paving a new path forward on behalf of the communities they serve. Parish's chairman of the board, Robert Jordan, was instrumental in bringing the leaders of both of these organizations together after the departure of Health First's former leaders to structure a new collaborative relationship. Parish and Health First agreed it was time for the two organizations to come together to do the right thing for Brevard, and based on the feedback we've received so far, this is very well received and the community agrees. Another example of improvements being tackled by Parish is the longer than desirable wait times in the emergency room. Parish engaged the help of an efficiency expert, and the emergency department team has spent the last several weeks implementing improvements, including appointing a new medical director, Dr. Rashawn, appointing a patient experience physician champion, Dr. Olson, working with an efficiency expert to lead the team in redesigning workflows and service modules. These changes don't happen overnight, but our care partners are happy to test and implement these improvements to provide the very best emergency department services to our patients. Parish continues to focus on expanding access to care and continues to welcome new providers in the community. I won't name them, but if you look at the screen up here, you'll see several new providers ranging in specialties from cardiology, orthopedics, pathology, primary care, occupational health, GI, and OB. In addition, we'll soon welcome providers that specialize in neurology and endocrinology. This is really exciting to have this infusion of such amazing talent right here in North Boulevard. Our report would not be complete without touting our awards earned by the talented Parish Healthcare Partners. Parish is a perinatal quality all-star hospital, according to the Florida Perinatal Quality Collaborative. This means expectant moms can feel really good about choosing to have their babies at Parish because we earn 5 stars for achieving excellence across each of the quality measures for postpartum access and care. Parish Medical Group primary care practices have again been awarded the highest level of certification as patient-centered medical homes from the National Committee on Quality Assurance. This certification is the most widely adopted evaluation program in the United States. PMG has earned this award since 2015. Okay, last but not least, mark your calendars. Please be ready to be there for the Gift of Light in 2024. The Gift of Light is the best community tree lighting event in Boulevard. It will be held Thursday, December 5th, beginning at 5:30 at Parish Medical Center. I was there last year. I saw many of you there. It was a wonderful event. We hope to see you there. This concludes my report. Thank you again for the opportunity, and certainly welcome any questions you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Billy. I appreciate it. And I would say, like I always do, you guys are a big part of the North Brevard, Titusville, Mims, Port St. John, et cetera, community and family. And I think that the little invitation you ended with says a lot. I really do. There are great hospitals that do great things like Parish. And then there are those who become part of the family and stay part of the family by doing things like that. You don't have to do that. That's nothing every hospital is required to do. It's one of my favorite events, and certainly as I end my time as mayor, I will still be there because they're still the best fireworks in the. And no, I take it back. City manager would be mad at me. They're the best with December fireworks, that's for sure. But the thing about those fireworks, and first of all, it's just so festive. You know, you have so much going on, and then all of a sudden, they're the closest to you fireworks you ever see. I mean, I get right there, and there they are, right there. So, but that's just one example of how it all works in the family. And I don't know how else to say it, but thank you, and I appreciate that. Member Cole.
I've had the opportunity, the pleasure, the privilege of being on the Parish Medical Center board for the last 24 years. Last 23 years, through the leadership of George Mkhitaryan, who has been a complete forward thinker and has brought us to where we are today. Internally, we always think that we're good, but when we have outside evaluators that come in and give us these outstanding reports, that only reinforces how we feel about what we do. So, as I said, I'm proud to be a part of Parish Medical Center and the things that we do in the community. Lots of things that we do in the community, and you alluded to it in your comments. But thank you, Billy.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
And I'd be remiss, she might not be watching, but my wife just retired from Parish after 20 years. And I can tell you that it's very much a class act how they treat their employees, and I can certainly speak for my wife in that case. This would be a really good time for me to say that Red, White, and Boom will be on 4th of July, and it's the greatest fireworks in the county. And they really are. They're really great. Thank you guys so very, very much. We have no action requested on that, so City Manager.
On to item 6B, which is the FY 24-25 Student Advisory Council membership appointees. Mr. Luke Dunhoff, Astronaut High School, Miss Ava Spear, Titusville High School, and Miss Alex Peer, Academic Community Enrichment, were selected to serve as their school's 9th grade representatives. Staff is requesting City Council confirm Mr. Dunhoff, Ms. Spear, and Ms. Peer's membership to the 24-25 Student Advisory Council.
Is there anyone here that wants to speak or no? Okay. With that said, any cards on that? Member Nelson?
I would make the motion, but I'm curious, Mr. Donhoff,
Is he related? Okay. Move to confirm Luke Dunhoff, Ava Spear, and Alexis Peer as members of the 24-25 Student Advisory Council.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Member Cole?
Yes.
Member Nelson?
Yes.
Mayor Diesel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Robinson?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Let me say that as that passes unanimously, let me say that that is one of the highlights of my year, every year as a mayor, to be at any event they have, to be at any meeting they hold. And when they come and present in front of us, it's just class act after class act, and it's just such an honor for us to be a part of that. So I thank the city for letting us have that. So passes unanimously, and I look forward to seeing it probably on TV now. City manager.
On to item 6C, which is Planning and Zoning Commission. The Planning and Zoning Commission semi-annual report is included in your agenda packet. No actions required.
Okay.
On to item 6D, which is Code Enforcement Special Magistrate. The Code Enforcement Special Magistrate semi-annual report is included in your packet. No action is required.
Okay.
On to item 6E, which is the Titusville Environmental Commission recommendations relating to tree canopy coverages in multifamily residential development, the critical root zones of trees, and the funds for tree planting and maintenance. On 14 August 2024, the Titusville Environmental Commission approved several recommendations for City Council's consideration and direction. They were recommend City Council direct staff to evaluate amending the city's tree ordinance number 2020-21 by adding multifamily projects in addition to single-family subdivisions to require a minimum of 25% of the development area tree canopy coverage. Number 2, recommend to City Council approve advisability for staff to review the tree ordinance number 2020-21 by reevaluating the critical root zone, CRZ, and grading standards within the CRZ. And on 10 July 2024, the Titusville Environmental Commission approved a recommendation for City Council's consideration and direction to recommend City Council direct staff and the Public Works Department starting now to spend all their funds, the $2 per capita tree planting and initial care, which includes the cost of tree purchases, plantings, materials, stakes, wrapping, water, mulching, and completion of controls, etc. Staff is here to answer any questions that you may have on these 3 advisabilities from the Titusville Environmental Commission.
And just for clarification, we are looking at an advisability here. And we are looking for an advisability to say what, to who?
To direct staff on the 3 items that I just went over, sir.
Okay. Anything, Member Nelson?
I have to say, I like number 1. Number 2, I think is probably important. The one from July 10th, because we don't have the urban forestry plan, I think that's premature. My suggestion was that
That's right, you said
TEC take the urban forestry plan and sort of give us some guidance on where they think we should be going and hopefully what it'll cost and let us make that final decision. So that's my request. Oh, and I forgot to add something.
Okay.
But we did talk about planting some trees down in Riverfront Park, specifically some palm trees. And that's something that we could consider doing this year. Probably cost about $5,000.
Okay. Member Stokel?
Yep, I had a question on the third one with the $2 per capita for tree plant. Do we already do that right now? As part of being a tree city, I thought there were certain funds that go toward plantings or,
Well, we report to the planning department what it takes to maintain the right-of-ways. The
okay.
trees in the right-of-way, which we spend well over $100,000 to maintain the right-of-ways. We don't plant a lot of trees with those funds. Those are just to keep the right-of-ways mowed, keep the trees trimmed back off the right-of-ways. We have to do to keep roadways operational.
So to be a tree city, we have to do a certain amount of planting and maintenance. Right,
To be a tree city, you have to spend a certain amount per capita on planting, maintenance, and care.
Which we
And right-
do.
right now,
To
we've
meet
been-
the requirement.
Right, so
Okay.
what we've shown is the majority of that expenditure in the past few years has been mainly maintenance, repair, and
Okay,
care.
okay. And then I guess we would need space if we were to shift from maintenance to plantings to plant the trees.
Yeah, the direction we received from council before was to go seek a grant to see if we can come up, have
Okay.
funding to help develop a plan or a strategy.
Okay.
And that's, we're still waiting on that.
Okay, and then I had a question about number 2, the critical root zone. I mean, I know we spent a lot of time on the tree ordinance. Was this something that came up to be an issue? That we, or this might be for, if we have cards on this, I might want to wait to hear
I
cards.
think there'll be cards.
Okay, so if there's cards on this, I would be curious about that one as well, of where that came about.
Okay, anything else from council? Call the cards, please.
Tony Schifolo?
Tony Schifolo, Tropic Street. I had a prepared speech for 6E as a member of the Titusville Tree Team. I support the recommendations that they present to you, but I'm going to have to jump over to something that I prepared for later on about, to answer Ms. Stokel. Citizens were outraged that the city claims to be a Tree City USA, which requires the expenditure of $2 per capita for planting trees, maintenance, and removal. If you read the thing, it's one of 4 requirements. So instead of using my 3 minutes to go over what I was going to say about this, I'm going to tell you what those requirements are. Someone must be legally responsible for the care of trees on city-owned property. By delegating tree care decisions to a citizen-led tree board, your Titusville Environmental Commission, which in its ordinance says that it is your tree board, the city can determine who will perform necessary tree work, and the public will know who is accountable for decisions that impact community trees. Number 2, you have to have a tree ordinance. Well, the tree team, comprised of citizen experts who range from arborists to rocket scientists, were able to assist TEC and P&Z to formulate your tree ordinance, even though it was significantly weakened by developers' threats and their complaints. Number 3, you have to have $2 per capita spent on tree planting, maintenance, and removal. By providing support at or above the $2 per capita minimum, a community demonstrates its commitment to grow and tend these valuable public assets. To meet this standard each year, the community must document at least $2 per capita toward the planting, care, and removal of city trees, and the planning efforts have to be documented also to make these things happen. And the 4th thing is you have to have an Arbor Day celebration so the citizens can join together to celebrate the benefits of community trees and the work that's accomplished by planting and maintaining them. By passing and reciting an official Arbor Day proclamation, our mayor has shown, it's demonstrated the support for the community tree program and has completed the 4 requirements to be a Tree City USA. Now, I'd like to go off, but I don't have those notes with me, about the number of trees that have been planted in the last 10 years that Kay St. Ange has been sending you detailed emails about. And there were several years when no trees, 0 trees were planted, even though the $2 per capita planting trees, and we didn't do that, and yet you said you were a Tree City USA. So there.
Thank you, Tony.
Can I ask a question real quick, Mayor?
Tony, I think he has a question.
So I think you just said it's for removal and maintenance, which Brad just said we have done the maintenance on it. So those things that you just listed off, we do those. So what do you think
No.
we don't do?
80 trees were removed one year and not a single tree was planted. I remember that statistic from my notes from before. 80 trees taken out and 0 planted is not exactly the intention of $2 per capita for planting trees, maintaining, and removing. You should be planting more than you're removing. You should be planting more than you're removing.
Okay.
Member Nelson.
Okay. Tony, I got another question.
Tony, take a deep breath.
Take a deep breath, please. Please.
Well, it just makes me so angry that we
No,
bring
this-
you these facts all the time, and then we have questions like, is it $2? What is it?
Wait, wait,
Isn't it
wait,
great to
Tony,
ask
take a
questions?
breath.
Yes, ma'am.
Take
Your
a breath.
question.
Take a breath. So Kay and I talked about doing some tree planting over at Isaac Campbell Park. Is that still the plan?
I haven't heard that plan, but I know that if Kate St. Ange is onto tree planting, it will
It
get
will happen.
done.
I
It happened
figured
in
as
Channel
much.
Lakes, it happened at Sandpoint.
And you better be on time because you guys get that done quick.
Because they'll be done in 20, 30 minutes. She gets so many volunteers.
I know.
True.
I know.
True.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I don't know about that, but if it was in her plans, it will happen.
It was
Keep
in
me
her
posted.
plans.
Even
So-
if we're moved on.
Now, she could answer this.
Kay? Are we still doing tree planting in Isaac Campbell Park?
Yes,
Okay.
if you want it, I'll do it.
We want it.
No card?
Tom Perez?
Good evening, Tom
Hey,
Perez,
Tom.
Washington Avenue. I'd like to, as a member of the TEC, also indicate my support for all of our recommendations. It is important that council amend the tree protection ordinance to include 25% of development area and tree canopy for multifamily residential complexes. By amending the ordinance in this way, tree equity and benefits of living among trees will be provided to both homeowners and apartment renters alike, while reducing stormwater runoff into the lagoon. It may have been a misunderstanding. The calculation in the ordinance that set forth the critical root zone uses the word diameter instead of radius, a factor of 2, which means that the minimum was cut in half, the very minimum. Usually, 1.5 feet is considered good. 1 foot is a minimum per inch. The result is that the critical root zone is half the minimum size it should be. And as is recommended by the International Society of Arborists, tree protection zones set up on construction sites using the city's current formula for the critical root zone will allow most trees, transport, and feeder roots to be damaged or removed, which, in a sense, just defeats the whole purpose of trying to do anything for the trees, okay, if we're going to lose them anyway. So considering the amount of time that we've dedicated to tree ordinances over the past several years, it'd be nice if we got it right, Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Tom. Next card?
Laura Lee Thompson?
Laura Lee Thompson, 3550 Irwin Avenue, Mims, and I'm the chair of your Environmental Commission. And we worked really, really hard to get the tree canopy protection ordinance passed, but we still need to do more work because we're building a lot of apartment complexes now, and they're taking out a lot of trees. And apartment people, they need to have the ability to be among trees and have a nice place to go sit and get out of their apartments also. So we feel like that is really, really important. Plus it's going to help maintain the city's tree canopy. Number 2, the critical root zone, like Mr. Perez said, it's kind of a housekeeping thing. Our critical root zone designation is half of what it is in other places. And so we could do damage to our trees by developing inside of what should be the critical root zone. On the $2 per capita, yes, you can use it for maintenance, and that's what a lot of it has been used for, but it also says you have to plant trees. So what we're asking is that some of the $2 per capita be be used every year for planting trees and not just use all of it on maintenance and taking trees down. And, you know, your budget meeting is Thursday night, so you'd have to act fast. And I know that the wording says starting now to spend all of the fund for tree planting and initial care. We don't have the urban forestry plan yet that will help us decide where is the right place to plant the trees. But that doesn't mean you can't start saving and setting aside the $2 per capita this year, this budget process. It's going to mean that Kevin's going to have to find some more money somewhere if we're going to use it to plant trees. But that's what we're supposed to be doing as a Tree City USA. We're supposed to be planting trees too, not just maintaining them and taking them down. With that, it's about $100,000 a year. And we could plant a lot of trees with that.
Amen.
So I'm here for questions if you have any questions.
I see none. Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you.
Next card, please.
Stan Johnston. Stan Johnston.
Stan Johnston, former engineer for the city of Titusville. I'm pleased to see that the city of Titusville council is listening, at least listening to the TEC this time. In fact, it's an agenda item here in 6E. That's quite different than what has happened in the recent past, in which the TEC has given direction to the staff to report to city or to report to council and to ask for work to be done by council, and it never got to council, such as sewage spills and so forth, very serious matters, which were just completely neglected. In other words, never even reached council. So I'm pleased to see that this meeting is happening, but I'm very concerned that council has not been able to listen to TEC and have issues brought to council. So in other words, what I'm saying is TEC votes to have issues brought to council, and then they become null and void. It doesn't get to council. This is a serious matter, very serious matter. So I'm pleased to see that this time that at least it's coming to council. So thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Stan. Next, Stan's back. Next card.
Michael Browning.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I apologize, but I have another serious.
Hold up before you do that. Give me your
3470
name. There you
Trevino
go.
Circle.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. My wife and I moved here in July of last year. So we're new. I hope you won't hold that against me. And I am mindful of my 3 minutes. So I hate to talk to people, though, and get into something serious without introducing myself and getting to know you a little bit. We moved down here from Georgia to be close to my daughter, who she and her family live in Cocoa Beach. So this is as close as we wanted to be. We're glad to be here in Titusville.
Oh, good.
We love it.
Glad you're here.
And I'm a Florida native originally. I've worked in Florida professionally along as well as other places up and down the eastern seaboard. I wanted to speak on agenda item 6E, specifically about the critical root zone. My thinking is that some of you still have some issues or questions about what the critical root zone really is and what it means and how it relates to saving trees. As a landscape architect, retired, and an arborist, retired, I've had much experience in land development where the design team incorporated large canopy shade trees into the built environment. A lot of what we on the design side know about this topic comes from scientists that teach about trees in forestry schools, and from researchers, people that work in the field like Davy Tree, Bartlett Tree Research Company, Asplund. All those people will know what critical root zones are because they relate very much to saving trees. And your ordinance, the tree protection ordinance, requires that trees be preserved as much as possible, right?
Right.
So without criticizing why the city's tree ordinance is like it is at the moment, I want to point out something. I'm here to request that you consider a couple of particular elements of the tree protection ordinance that needs to be improved. Okay? My hope is that you will recognize the need as critical and that something can be addressed sooner rather than later. In the last few months, through my meetings with the Titusville tree team, city staff, and the TEC, I believe that there is concurrence.
Hold that thought. Let's give him one more minute.
Please.
1
minute.
Is that 3 minutes?
Wrap up in a minute there. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm almost done. I believe there is concurrence on the need to make a correction and improvement to the tree protection ordinance in two critical areas, specifically two elements of the code that define the critical root zone. I believe it was an oversight or an error. Sometimes when you're developing new codes, and this code has been in place, 2.5 years? Sometimes the codes, you catch something and something needs to be improved. When I was researching the city's codes related to proposed development at the Royal Oak Golf Course, I picked up on this right away, okay? There's a math error basically related to the formulation of what is a critical root zone. And as Joe, as was explained by someone on the TEC board, the word diameter was used instead of radius. And
All right, well, we're going to end up doing this, having to have a separate meeting with you. You're full of information, that's for sure. You're not a 3-minute kind of guy here, meaning that there's just too much there. But that, now watch Kay, when she gets up here, she'll have 3 minutes and she'll stop on the dime. But before I even let you go, though, I need to wonder if you're interested in being on a couple boards. So I haven't met you, but I can tell you that I could listen to you forever, but we do need to move on. Yeah, and you might want to, you've met with the TEC apparently?
yes,
That's good.
a couple times.
Very good. That might be a place you put your name in there and say, I might want to be on that board. And like PNZ, there are several boards. Anybody else got any boards for him? But thank you for the information. I know there's a lot more there, but it seems like maybe you just put a little thing out there for a seminar and you put one of those on. But,
Or a work session with staff.
well, we'll certainly maybe talk about that, but you certainly have some information and a background, and I appreciate your sincerity. Thank
Okay,
you so
any
much.
questions? No? Thank you.
Thank you. Wait, question, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, because you are one of the more sincere
Enlightening.
individuals that I have seen come before us with not giving us information that is founded in not in personal opinion and personal desires, but founded in education and in science. Thank you for that, and I hope that you participate in planning and zoning and help us to make our city a better city without including what is real and not what is a personal opinion of people. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thank you for your time. And as I told my wife, this is Browning's last stand. We're not moving anywhere, so.
There you go.
We want to help.
Don't leave, there's more questions. And again, I use the word enlightening. It's just mesmerizing. Member Stokel.
Yeah, no, thank you. And you answered my question that I was concerned about with the critical root zone, not understanding what you wanted us to do with that. So just to clarify, if I heard you correctly, as we move forward, you would recommend that we look at that tree ordinance again, specifically concerning the critical root zone, because you think there could be some changes made.
There's two little pieces.
One is the
One
diameter
is
and
the
radius.
definition of the root zone. It requires a one-word change
Okay.
in the definition that is related to the formula for establishing the area that you work around to save trees.
Okay, and what was that second
The
thing?
other is it follows that section, that one section, and it's about grading in the critical root zone. It allows grading now. You're not saving trees by allowing grading. And that's a detail maybe to be ironed out with staff at a later date, but until the critical root zone area is properly defined, right? And you keep fences around trees to be preserved, and you don't allow people to take large equipment and run over those tree roots.
Yeah.
You won't save trees.
We've been there, haven't we, Kay?
Okay.
Locked equipment run over our trees.
Thank you for your
Thank you so
time. I
much.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Next card, please.
Last card is K. St. On.
Cleanup batter.
Sorry for being late. I had a commitment. The three TEC recommend, St. Arch, Maryland Avenue, Titusville Tree Team.
Thank
The
you.
three TEC recommendations on your agenda tonight are all important because if adopted, they will be greatly beneficial to residents, wildlife, aquifers, and the lagoon. When council considered adopting the tree ordinance in 2021, the draft ordinance required 25% of development area in tree canopy for all residential development. However, council decided not to provide canopy requirements to multifamily developments, just to single family. It is well documented that neighborhood tree canopy reduces temperatures, encouraging residents to spend more time outside exercising and socializing, thus reducing stress and crime. As the current code provides these benefits only to homeowners in new subdivisions, essentially the law deprives multifamily renters of these benefits and could be considered discriminatory. A case could be made in that regard. Ensuring equitable tree cover in every neighborhood can help address social inequities. Direct staff to evaluate amending the tree ordinance to require 25% of development area in tree canopy in multifamily developments, as it is required in single-family developments. I have spoken to an attorney about this, and they believe that would be applicable to Local Act, multifamily. That's a legal decision that would need to go to the city attorney, but I have heard that. Also, P&Z should be provided the opportunity to advise council on this amendment. In regards to TEC's third recommendation, the city of Titusville has been a Tree City USA community for 23 years. Tree City Standard 3 indicates to meet this standard each year, the community must document at least $2 per capita toward the planting, care, and removal of city trees. Public Works Department is required to submit a community forestry budget to Tree City annually, indicating how much of this $2 per capita is spent towards tree planting and initial care and how many trees are planted. It says, there's a category right here, a line that says how many trees they planted. Here's the budget for 2013 to 2023. For the year 2023, 0 trees were planted. In previous years, 4 to 8 trees were planted. Earlier, 3 years in a row, 0 trees, 0 trees, 0 trees were planted. 1 year, in 2018, 81 trees were planted. Now that was a good year. Tree Team volunteers planted 165 trees in Titusville Park since 2021 and continue to maintain them at no cost to the city or county. And yes, we will plant these trees at Isaac Newton? Isaac Campbell. Okay, got it right. Can I have another minute?
Yeah, let's extend a minute.
Okay.
If
We
she
don't
slow-
normally, she's normally right on 3 minutes, so.
If she slows down.
Oh,
She's
okay, but
wound
I
up.
can't get it all in then, because
Okay,
I
one
have a
minute.
whole nother thing to say. The Tree City USA says $2 per capita minimum is to demonstrate a community commitment to grow and tend trees. That's what TEC is recommending for the city, to demonstrate a community commitment to grow and tend trees. TEC is asking council to direct the public works to spend all of the $2 per capita minimum for tree planting and initial care to help compensate for all the many years the city planted 0 to 8 trees. Tree City says communities should plant trees along streets and in parks and public spaces. You don't need some urban forestry plan to say plant trees along streets and in parks. You know where you can do it. It's easily ascertained. In public spaces, as city trees provide many benefits: clean air, clean water, shade, and beauty. We all know that trees reduce polluted stormwater runoff into the lagoon. As the lagoon generates $7.6 billion annually in our region, wouldn't it make sense to plant trees? Thank you very much.
Just
Any
plant
questions?
more trees.
Just plant trees.
Just plant trees. Next card. That's right, you did say last card. Council. Member Nelson.
I like number 1 and 2, just as they're written. Number 3, I think we do need the urban forestry plan, because like we found out, you can't really just go plant trees. You can in parks. That's fairly easy. But on the streets, you've got pipes, you've got all sorts of infrastructure. So I think for that, we need an urban forestry plan. So my thought is, I would love to see the trees planted in Riverfront Park. And Kay was there when we were talking about it. And then when we get the urban forestry plan back, I would like to see TEC look at it and sort of come up with some ideas on where we go first. There's a possibility, I understand, of getting grants for planting those trees. So I think how much we spend per year needs to come to us. But I think we do need to spend some money each year toward those trees. So if we get $100,000 in grants, maybe we're not spending $100,000. So I think we need to look at that. So that's my thought.
Member Stokel.
Yes, I'm along the same lines. I think 1 and 2 are fine. This third one, I think if we can kind of direct staff in the meantime, look at planting some trees so we're not at 0 or a low number, and look at the parks. But I want to be very thoughtful and have a plan for what we do, where we end up planting the other ones. And then also, it is important to have that maintenance component of it, because I don't want to just plant trees and then they die the next year as well. So I would just like to have a little bit more thought go into the process. In the meantime, look at planting some at some of our parks, I think would be a great idea.
I think the maintenance of trees is very, very important, but I would like to see perhaps a number or percentage every year, something that your department has, that we need to plant X number of trees every year. We don't seem to have that. It seems like there should be a number or a percentage. There needs to be plant trees. And I know we're spending a lot of money on maintaining them, and I know we're doing a great job with that. I'm just saying that I think that there ought to be some number in there that says we need to plant X number of trees this year, and we could probably get with the TEC on the proper number, and the proper number each year, because things change every year.
And proper location.
So I just think that I haven't heard enough talk from our side that we need a number, not just let's plant trees, let's plant number. Let's have a number. Vice Mayor.
Yes, do we know what is the tree coverage at the present time on public property in the city? Do we know on public property what is the,
Canopy percentage?
the coverage?
We completed a canopy study a couple of years ago. If you remember, there was a consultant that provided a study of citywide. I don't recall what the number was for on city property or public land. It's certainly something we can look into and come back to you.
Yeah, we need to find that out because as we go forth, I agree with, we should be planting trees, but where we can plant trees,
Where's
we
the biggie?
already know we need to know what that status is so that we can continue to improve upon that. When it comes to developing and stuff like that, we have to look at it kind of a different way. We still want to use that percentage factor, but we still have, I just love the fact that the first time that I've heard, you can't drive over the roots of a tree and expect them to grow, healthy as we go in. And that's something that's going to have to be worked out with development and so forth as we go.
And I think the where seems to be a problem. You put them in certain places and you pop sidewalks or whatever. I think that's when you say to Kay and some others, say, hey, we'd like to plant this number of trees. Now, where can we plant them? And work together. It can be done. It can be done. So where do we go with this? What are we looking to do to you?
What I heard Member Nelson and several follow along is the advisability for the first two, and then to hold on the third one.
Well, I'm not sure it's a hold on the third one. I think what we're recommending is that we look at planting trees, some palm trees in Riverfront Park, because that will stop some erosion there. And then start looking at next year when hopefully we have the urban forestry plan, letting TEC look at that and say, these are our most important areas for planting trees. Sort of like, and then it comes to us with hopefully a budget, which of course going to impact Kevin's budget, but where we are planting at least some trees each year and
With an X number.
of X number.
Yeah, I think that we
Yeah.
have to have something to shoot at. We can't just say, let's plant some trees.
Yeah.
Let's have a, goal. How many do we want to plant? So put me in a motion there if you could.
I don't know that I can put that in motion.
Well, think about it.
Oh.
You're the closest one to a motion right now.
So moved, thanks. Move to approve advisability for the TEC recommendations 1 and 2, and provide advisability for the July 10th recommendation that we provide trees for Riverfront Park, palm trees, and that we come up with a number that we can,
As a goal.
trees that we can plant in the coming years
And abide by it. Stick to
and
it.
abide by it.
Yeah.
Does that work?
It works. I know there's a lot of words there, but that's kind of where I wanted to go past this. And let's put something in there with, let's have an X number of trees, not just let's plant some trees. So that's,
No, I think we don't even need to be absolutely firm.
Not yet.
We're going to plant 50 trees because the area TEC says is the most important to plant
Right.
in that area may only hold 40. So
I agree, but at the same time, I don't want to, and I won't, I don't want to be here again when it's read that we had 3 years and no trees.
right.
But we said, well, we maintained them, and that's great, that's important. So all I'm saying is we need to have some semblance of a number that we're trying to meet. And say if we
Yep,
don't meet
a
it, there's a
goal.
reason we didn't meet it.
A goal.
But when there's several years of no trees, I just don't think we need to be there.
Right. So, okay, I'm
I
standing
think
by that
stand by that
motion.
motion. Do I have a second on that?
I'm
long
glad the
motion?
lawyer made that motion. I'll second.
I've got the motion and a second roll call vote.
Member Nelson?
Yes.
Mayor Diesel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Robinson?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Member Cole?
Yes.
All right, we're moving forward. Actually, I think my first couple of years was mostly trees. It was. Okay, petitions and requests. People with a separate non-agenda item, thank you guys for being here. Mike, nice to meet you. Look forward to hearing from you. And again, petitions and requests. I see none.
Stan Johnson again, 860 Poinsett Avenue. And I sent you an email yesterday. It's about this project. Here's sheet 4 of the project, SNJ Oaks, and I want to talk about some nonsense. So nonsense. There's 2 dimensions on here that I want to talk to you about. It's 16.7700 and 8.0000 feet. That's to the nearest 10,000th of a foot. That's about 1.2 thousandths of an inch. That's thinner than a sheet of paper. So we've got dimensions on here that a surveyor cannot possibly stake out, cannot possibly measure, does not have the equipment to do it. But they're on this plan. It's nonsense. 10,000ths of a foot. There's some other things that are absolute nonsense, is that this survey was reviewed by the state board and refused, and yet corrections have not been made. Now I wanted to say about some other things that are really bad, is the city has approved a minor subdivision on the northwest corner. That's just across Elizabeth Avenue. We approved a minor division of that. And that minor division disagrees completely and meets and bounds with SNJ Oak survey. Furthermore, the city has plans prepared in about 1983 and then as built in about 1986 of the improvements of the streets, sewer, storm sewer, water, and so forth of Whispering Hills Road and Elizabeth Avenue that completely disagrees and meets and bounds with this survey of SNJ Oaks. So what I'm saying is this, is that the city is approving conflicting surveys. How can they do that? I want you to understand that Jesus can't do this. Jesus can walk on water.
Easy.
He can walk on water. He can turn water into wine, but he can't approve 2 surveys that are in conflict. But the city of Titusville and your city manager apparently believe that they can. This is a serious matter. And there's, as far as the Iron Rod monuments, and I've gone out there and showed it to mayor and vice mayor and so forth, that there's a monument out there that's 2 feet in disagreement with a drill hole in a sidewalk. Completely different. It shows that there's a conflict and overlapping deeds and so forth. So I'm asking for you to correct it. Thank you.
Thank you, Stan.
Get a resurvey.
Petitions and requests.
Tony Schifolo, Tropic Street. I've calmed down.
Thank you, Tony. You can tell when you get started where you're at.
And something a little esoteric now for you. In the introduction to the 50th anniversary edition of Pedagogy of the Oppressed, Donald Macedo, the critical theorist, linguist, and expert on multicultural education, wrote, I'm going to quote this, Ms. Stokel, "We protect the intellectual coherence needed in order to help others comprehend the critical difference between studying hunger as an anthropological tourist and experiencing it, between deploring violence and surviving it, and between the false benevolence of giving voice and being institutionally forced into voicelessness. Voice is not a gift," he says, "it is a human right. Our autonomy cannot be achieved without a true communion with the people with whom we are engaged in a struggle for liberation." End of quote. To paraphrase NASA's Bill Nelson, speaking up like space travel is always risky, even when safe, even when routine. We citizens intend to continue speaking up on issues deeply affecting our everyday routines in an effort to help you, Council, comprehend the critical difference between just studying an issue and experiencing it, surviving it. We come before you prepared with research, facts, expertise, and information, not just opinions, Vice Mayor. We come with these facts and information and research to share pertinent context for issues that are often buried in your extensive, overburdened agendas. Tonight, I could be home watching the debate, but I believe one can vote only occasionally, but one can participate often in local politics. That said, I want to warn you, I put in several cards tonight. Thank you.
Anybody else, petitions or requests? City Manager.
On to consent, we have consent agenda item A through G. City Council, do you have any questions for consent?
I've seen nothing.
City Council, do you want to pull any consent agenda items for additional discussion?
I've seen none.
Clerk, are there any cards on consent?
Yes, I have 3 cards.
Mayor, I'd like to read the titles for the record.
Thank you.
Consent agenda item 8A, accept the award for the grant for the Florida Department of Environmental Protection grant awarded for Resiliency Florida Planning Grant. Consent agenda item 8B, approve resolution 15-2024, approving temporary road closures of state roads for special events, Astronaut High School's homecoming parade on September 26, 2024. Consent agenda item 8C, approve the City of Titusville United States Law Enforcement Foundation agreement for funding the Infinite Flame Monument at the Police Hall of Fame. Consent agenda item 8D, approve the renewal of all lines of insurance coverage. Consent agenda item 8E, authorize to procure products and services on the vendor of records list for the FY 2025. Consent agenda item 8F, approve the Second Amendment to the Village Woods of Laceda Second Amendment's Declaration of Covenants, Conditions, and Restrictions. And consent agenda item 8G, approve the final rankings for inclusionary housing and linkage fees for the 2024 consulting services.
All right. Thank you very much. Council, anything you want to talk about? No. Call the cards, please.
I have Tony Scheffelo that did 2 cards, one for item C and one for G.
Well, she puts in 1 card to talk about 2 things. Yes. Yeah, so not 2 cards.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
First, Schiffelow, Tony, Tropic Street. First, I ask why a firm like, this is inclusionary housing. I want to know why Strategic Planning Group won the bid on such a tremendously impactful project as inclusionary housing regulations and linkage fees over an organization like Amarak Planning Services that are already working with the Florida Housing Coalition devoted to community-involved development and the first choice of 3 people on the selection panel who will work with the project. And I looked at the score sheet, Brad. I looked at it. I looked both firms up online to see what could have made the difference, and nowhere could I find any reference on the Strategic Planning Group website that won the bid. I couldn't find any reference to city planning, community-driven housing needs, sustainable housing solutions that were like on the Amarak planning. Instead, when you go to the strategic planning, you read a collaborative group of interdisciplinary professional land planners, real estate planners, real estate economists, and real estate development professionals. And these are the guys who are going to come in and write our regulations for the poor people. All right, now on to the eternal flame. Wasteful, gas-burning, eternal fire burning atop a 120-foot monumentally loopy piece of metal in Florida where many days are 95 degrees or better. Why did you not ask the citizens if we wish to donate $50,000 of our money to this endeavor, or did you fear we would rather use the funds to test the outflow into the Indian River Lagoon, which we were told would cost $10,000 per test? But that was too much to spend to satisfy the desires, requests, and demands of the citizens. Now, when I ask why the city was giving money to this multi-million-dollar project, it was said because they asked. Well, on behalf of Speak Up Titusville, I'm asking you for $50,000, a mere match of the donation being made to the well-endowed United States Law Enforcement Foundation, getting $50,000 for a useless resource using carbon-emitting flame, when Speak Up Titusville is asking for a little donation, to help save our beloved Indian River Lagoon.
Next up.
The last card is Dan Johnston, and it's for item D.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, item D is renewal of all insurance lines of coverage. And my concern is, what the heck do we insure? In some areas, like, for example, I just had talk to you about the survey and site plan. In this case, is, for example, some of the buildings are not even 12 inches above the crown of the road, which is required by law, unless there's some special circumstances. And all these things that violate law, surveying law and so forth. Are you responsible for that in lines of coverage? If someone can answer that, I would like to know. And there's other things. For example, I've been up here before because I've had police officers while I was out at sites, and they've observed things like sewage spills, and they've observed the fountains turned on while there's sewage in the ponds in city parks. So women and children and vehicles get sprayed. My vehicle was sprayed. I got sprayed. So do our lines of coverage cover those two particular items? Or are we uninsured for those things? So I thought I should bring up those, because those are important questions. They happen again and again. And it seems like the city has a liability there, is what appears to me. And even the police, I believe, have a liability on this particular issue. We got 7 police officers here in this room right now. So it'd be nice for y'all to respond to that question. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other cards? No response. I would say to Chief and the police officers noted is here on number C, foundation agreement for funding of the Infinity Flame Monument at the Police Hall of Fame to honor the fallen police officers in the line of duty. I can't think of anything more worthy. So thank you, guys. I appreciate that. City Manager. Oh, we know. We need to do our vote. Member Nelson.
Move to approve consent agenda items A through G.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Mayor Diesel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Robinson?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Member Cole?
Yes.
Member Nelson?
Consent agenda passes unanimously. City Manager.
On to item 9A, which is ordinance number 23, 2024, Titusville Environmental Commission powers and duties. City Attorney will read the ordinance for the record.
Ordinance number 23, 2024, an ordinance of the City of Titusville, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 31, Article 9, Titusville Environmental Water Resources Commission, by amending Section 31-121, Powers and Duties, to incorporate the Tree City USA standards, providing for severability, incorporation into the code, and providing for an effective date.
On August 21st, 2024, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval as presented 6-1. At the 15 May 2024 TEC meeting, the commission made 2 motions to propose an amendment to the TEC's powers and duties within the city's Code of Ordinances. The first motion requested that Section 31-120B2 be moved to Section 31-121B5 subparagraph. The second motion requested that the 4 subsections be added under Section 31-121B6. The new subsections are maintain the tree board, number 2, have a tree ordinance, number 3, spend $2 per capita on urban forestry, and number 4, celebrate Arbor Day. Mr. Parrish is here to answer any questions that council may have on this ordinance.
Council? You want to give us any insight before? Or?
No, I'm just here if you have any questions. I think we presented this to you before.
Yes, you did.
TEC saw it, and so did P&Z. Both recommended approval.
And I think we're on the same page with that. Cards, please.
One card, it's Tony Sheffalo.
Sheffalo Tropic Street, I already did my spiel on this, but I didn't get to the last paragraph. And I wanted to go back over about the $2 per capita again. Mayor Diesel, you take $2 times the number of people that live in the city of Titusville, and that gives you the budget that you have, and then you can decide, well, we probably ought to save a percentage for maintenance and maybe a smaller percentage for removing some trees, and maybe this year we ought to have the biggest percentage for the budget of planting trees.
And that's kind of what I'm saying without the biggest budget, not getting into that. I'm saying there ought to be a discussion on numbers.
Yes, and your TEC has discussed that, and a part of being a Tree City USA, you don't have any choice about spending $2 per capita on planting, maintaining, and removing trees. It is number 3 of the 4 requirements to be a Tree City USA. And your TEC has demonstrated a deep commitment to shaping Titusville growth in an environmentally friendly way. The depth of work behind the recommendations that they bring to you is amazing. If you attended your meetings, you would understand this. If they were broadcast, you wouldn't even have to come. You could stay at home and watch them. So I want you to please continue to show your respect, if not your admiration, for the sage advice that the Environmental Commission brings to you, and make these recommended changes to their powers and duties. And go ahead and swallow that $2 per capita, because that's a requirement. That is a requirement, not ours. We didn't come up with that ourselves. That's Tree City USA.
My, Tony. Yeah, we need, I don't know what she's got to do, but let her fix that.
I put 9E instead of 9A, I'm sorry.
Come on up. Come on up, young lady. I was actually surprised. I was waiting to hear your name first, so good. I'm glad you're there.
Well, I wanted to watch the pre-debate discussion on TV, so I wasn't planning on staying, but then it looked like this would come up pretty quick, so I can still see part of it. But mostly I'm just here for questions. All we did was move one thing from one part of the list to the second, another part. The reason that we did that, our reasoning was because under Section 31-121, powers and duties, specific responsibilities, we felt like the number 2 should belong in that other section where we moved it to. So we really didn't take anything out. We just rearranged the furniture some. And then on item number 5, establish Titusville as a Tree City USA, we just added the 4 requirements of being a Tree City USA into the ordinance, because we really wanted to make it clear that we want to be a Tree City USA, but we want to do it right. So I'm just here for questions if you have any.
My first
We
question.
spent a lot of time talking about this, but.
My first question, you do have a DVR at your house, right?
A what now?
A DVR where you can record what you're missing.
Oh, no, I don't. I'm technologically incompetent.
I'm
and
not surprised.
No.
Okay. Any questions for her? No, I appreciate it. Thank you. You better hurry home. Only you. Bye. Stay a nice visit. All right, where were we? Any other cards? All right, what do you want to do with this, council? As Walt used to say, what's your pleasure? Member Nelson?
I'm fine with it.
I am too.
So,
I like that we're moving, I'll call it a cooperative collaboration there, and agreeing with them and saying,
Yeah.
hey, what do you think? What should we do more here? And I'm hoping that we're just going to follow their lead.
so I'd move to approve ordinance number 23, 2024, the Titusville Environmental Commission Powers and Duties Ordinance.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Vice Mayor Robinson?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Member Cole?
Yes.
Member Nelson? Mayor Diesel?
Yes. Passes unanimously. Let's move forward. Good job. You better hurry. Take care now. Thank you, Laura Lee. City Manager.
On to some quasi judicial matters. City Attorney will read the procedures for that.
As you see on the agenda, item 9B was withdrawn, so for the public, we'll be moving to item 9C, which is small-scale comprehensive plan amendment, application number 6, 2024 for Tranquility. This involves two ordinances, the land use change, which is ordinance number 24, 2024, which is a legislative item, and rezoning, which is ordinance number 25, 2024, which is quasi-judicial. We will have the public hearing where we will address both the land use and the zoning. At the close of the public hearing, you will then consider the items separately. You will vote on the legislative item, and then you will vote on the rezoning. At this time, I'll read the quasi-judicial procedures that would apply to the rezoning. During the public hearing portion of the meeting, anyone wishing to speak on the quasi-judicial item must first sign a public hearing agenda card and sign the oath contained thereon, swearing to tell the truth, the full truth, and nothing but the truth. These cards are located on the table at the entrance of the chamber and should be provided to the clerk. Those speaking in favor of requests will be heard first. If you have photographs, sketches, or documents that you desire for the city council to consider, they must be submitted into evidence and will be retained by the city. Please submit such exhibits to the city clerk. City clerk, have you received signed oath cards from persons wishing to speak before the city council, swearing to tell the truth, the full truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes, sir. To staff and applicant, please ensure all witnesses that intend to speak have signed an oath card and presented it to the clerk. If there is anyone present who has not signed an oath card that wishes to speak on the quasi-judicial items, please submit a card to the clerk at this time. City clerk, have all agenda items been properly advertised? Yes, sir. In the event that a council member has received an ex parte communication, either verbal or written, outside of this hearing, the council member shall disclose the identity of the person, group, or entity with whom the communication took place and the subject of the communication, including all opinions or facts discussed. Any written communication must be disclosed and made a part of the record. Also, in the event that a member has conducted an investigation or site visit or received any expert opinions regarding the quasi-judicial item, said visit or opinions shall be disclosed.
This is small-scale comprehensive plan amendment, application number 5, 2024, which contains ordinance number 24, 2024, and ordinance 25, 2024. The city attorney will read the ordinances for the record.
Ordinance number 24, 2024, an ordinance of the City of Titusville, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances by amending ordinance number 60, 1988, which adopted the comprehensive plan of the City of Titusville, by amending the future land use map, by changing the land use designation on approximately 6.3 plus minus acres of property located east of South Washington Avenue, US 1, and north of West Nassau Causeway, State Road 405, having Boulevard County parcel ID numbers 22, 35, 35002, and 22, 35, 35001, from the regional mixed use and conservation future land use designations to the regional mixed use and conservation future land use designations to match the boundaries of the surveyed wetlands, providing for an effective date. Ordinance number 25, 2024, an ordinance of the City of Titusville, Florida, amending ordinance number 5, 1993 of the City of Titusville by amending the zoning map made a part of said ordinance by reference by changing the regional mixed use RMU and open space and recreation OR zoning districts to the regional mixed use RMU and open space and recreation OR zoning districts to match the boundaries of the surveyed wetlands on approximately 6.3 plus minus acres of property located east of South Washington Avenue, US 1, and north of West Nassau Causeway, State Road 405, having Boulevard County parcel ID numbers 22, 35, 35002, and 22, 35, 35001, providing for an effective date.
The applicant is requesting a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment with rezoning to correctly reflect the wetlands along the Addison Canal east of South Washington Avenue in the Tranquility multi-use development. The purpose of the amendment is to protect the Addison Canal by correcting the conservation, land use, and OR zoning district boundaries. On August 7th, 2024, the Planning and Zoning Commission, acting as your local planning agency, recommended approval as presented 7-0. Mr. Parrish is here to present to you on these matters.
Council, the application or the staff report begins on 274 of your packet. I'm just going to briefly touch on a couple items in there. On page 275, at the bottom of that page, your packet, which is the second page of the staff report, you'll see that the property generally is vacant right now. Woodland has Addison Canal. Future land use on the property is conservation and regional mixed use. This is the only portion of the city that has regional mixed use land use category. It's tailor-made for this particular development. The zoning on the property is open space and recreation, OR, and regional mixed use zoning. And the entire area is governed by the Tranquility Development Agreement and Master Plan. Page 276 of your packet, which is page 3 of the staff report, you'll see under staff analysis, general information. This is really the crux of the request. Because the comprehensive plan policy 1.16.2 states that as of 2009, the wetlands shown as conservation land use on the future land use map were established using a National Wetlands Inventory map of 1988. The applicant has the right to come in and request amend those boundaries of the conservation land use with a ground truth information, which they have provided. So that policy further states, in order to provide a more accurate mapping of wetlands, when the city receives a wetland delineation on specific sites, the delineation will be accepted by the city, and the future land use map will be amended accordingly. The applicant has provided that information. We reviewed this application against the policies of the comprehensive plan and the criteria of the rezoning. And I'm going to turn to page 282 of your packet, which is the last page of the staff report. Under findings, staff recommends adopting, we found the application to be consistent with the comprehensive plan and the zoning criteria of the land development regulations. Staff recommends adopting SSA number 6, 2024 to amend the future land use map to reflect the actual boundaries of the Addison Canal wetlands by changing the future land use designation from regional mixed use and conservation to a more accurate and correct regional mixed use and conservation boundaries. The recommendation is based upon the staff analysis, information, and evidence presented, and in accordance with the city charter of the City of Titusville, the Code of Ordinances, and LDRs, Section 34-23 of the Code, the adopted comprehensive plan, and the provisions of Chapter 163 and 166 of the Florida statutes. As far as our recommendation on the rezoning, if the land use is approved, we will find that the rezoning is also consistent and should be approved. So we recommend approval of the request to amend the zoning map to reflect the actual boundaries of the Addison Canal wetlands located east of South Washington from the regional mixed-use zoning district and open space and recreation OR zoning districts to the correct boundaries. The recommendation is based upon the staff analysis, information, and evidence presented, and in accordance with the city charter of the City of Titusville, the Code of Ordinances, and the LDRs, Section 34-40 of the Code, the adopted comprehensive plan, and the provisions of 163 and 166 of the Florida statutes. And lastly, I'm just going to point you to page 296 of your packet. And it's the side-by-side map of the future land use, and then the next page is the zoning. And those two maps, you'll see on the left side, the map as where the conservation land use is currently located. The red boundary illustrates where the Addison Canal boundary is located. And so the map on the right will reflect that correction if this land use amendment is adopted. Same thing goes for the rezoning map on the next page, which is page 297 of your packet. With that, I'll answer any questions you have.
Member Stokel.
Just a clarifying question to kind of summarize this. I think that we all kind of knew this was going to happen once they started to develop and build. It's a big piece of property, and this is really just truing up what they discovered, and we're correcting it. So to me, this is probably one of our easiest items.
I would agree. I'm hearing a lot of so this would not take too much. Any other thing from council? Applicant?
Rodney Honeycutt.
Mayor, council, good evening. Rodney Honeycutt, 3700 South Washington Avenue. And so, as we've all talked about, there was a 1988 wetlands map that shows the general locations of wetlands, particular Addison Creek. And so now those wetlands have been located by the environmentalists. They've been ground truthed by the Water Management District and approved. And so we're just applying to have that corrected for the comp plan and rezoning.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? I think this is pretty cut and dry, but go ahead. cut and dry, you like that? I tell you, that was an accident. Anyway. Any other questions? I don't see any, Rodney. We'll get back to you. Any cards, please?
One card, Tony Sheffalo.
All right. Don't encourage her. Herman. Okay, motion?
Move to approve ordinance number 2024, amending the Code of Ordinances by amending the future land use map and changing the land use designation on 6.3 acres of property located east of South Washington Avenue and north of West Nassa Causeway.
And does your motion incorporate the findings of staff's report that support approval?
Yes.
Second.
I have a motion and I have a second. Roll call vote.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Member Cole?
Yes.
Member Nelson?
Yes.
Mayor Diesel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Robinson?
Yes.
All right, that's step one, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Move to approve ordinance number 25, 2024, amending ordinance 5, 1993 of the city of Titusville by amending the zoning map, changing the regional mixed use and open space and recreation zoning districts to the regional mixed use and open space and recreation zoning districts to match the boundaries of the surveyed wetlands.
City Attorney, we good?
Yes, sir. Again, does that motion to approve incorporate the findings of staff's report that support approval of
Correct.
this item?
All right, I have a motion. I have a second. Roll call vote.
Member Cole?
Yes.
Member Nelson? Yes. Mayor Diesel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Robinson?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Passes unanimously. I think we basically just fixed what needed to be fixed, and I think we're better off now. Thank you.
On to item 9D, which is the rezone application number 1-2024 for property located at 2300 Columbia Boulevard. This is also quasi-judicial in ordinance number 26, 2024. City Attorney will read that for the record.
Ordinance number 26, 2024, an ordinance of the City of Titusville, Florida, amending ordinance number 5, 1993 of the City of Titusville by amending the zoning map made a part of said ordinance by reference by changing the regional commercial RC zoning district to the community commercial CC zoning district on approximately 3.69 plus minus acres of property located at 2300 Columbia Boulevard, having Brevard County parcel ID number 22, 35, 29, AV 127.0, providing for severability, repeal of conflicting ordinances, and providing for an effective date. Again, this is quasi-judicial, so all the disclosure requirements would apply.
Anybody have any disclosures? I have none.
The applicant, Larry Rhodes, on behalf of the property owner, 2300 Holdings LLC, is requesting to rezone approximately 3.69 acre property located at 2300 Columbia Boulevard. The request is to rezone the property from regional commercial RC zoning district to community commercial CC zoning designation for the property is currently commercial high intensity on the city's future land map. Mr. Parrish is here, or correction, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval as presented at their 21 August 2024 meeting. Mr. Parrish is here to present on this matter.
Council, this agenda, the staff report begins on page 368 of your packet. I'll just highlight a couple things in here and show you a map. On the application, so this does not involve a land use amendment. This is strictly just a rezoning application. The land use is not going to change, so basically the applicant is requesting to change their zoning from one commercial district to another underneath the overriding land use category. The rezoning request is to change it from the regional commercial to the community commercial zoning district, which is a slightly less intense zoning district. On page 369 of your packet, you'll see the property is currently has a building on it with a parking lot and some outdoor storage area behind the building. So it's a vacant commercial building. We do not have a request to propose any changes on this property. We do not have a concept plan associated with this. On page 372 of your packet, I'm just going to, we did review this against the rezoning criteria of the code. We believe that the application is consistent with the city's comprehensive plan and the land development regulations, including amendment procedures described, or the criteria described in section 34-40 of the city's code regarding rezonings. Based on the above findings, the staff recommends approval of rezoning number 1-2024 to rezone the property located at 2300 Columbia Boulevard from the regional commercial zoning district to the community commercial zoning district in the commercial high-intensity future land use designation. I'll also refer you to page 378 of your packet to an aerial, and you'll see the property is located on Columbia Boulevard. It's on a major arterial. That's an FDOT maintained road. The property, the aerial shows how the property was used just fairly recently, and currently we do not have like I said, a business there now. So if this is approved, it will allow the list of uses that are currently listed and permitted and limited inside the community commercial zoning district. With that, I'll try to answer any questions you have.
Any questions? I see none. Applicant?
We have, I don't know if she's the applicant, Carla Nettles.
There we go.
That's the only card.
Okay.
Carla Nettles, 6035 Adena Road. I represent the owner,
Okay.
and I don't have any questions.
Okay. I don't think we're going to have a lot of questions on this one. I think we'd like to, I don't want to say what we're going to do, but we'll be right there. Member Nelson?
Move to approve rezoning application number 1, 2024, 2300 Columbia Boulevard, changing regional commercial to community commercial zoning district, and based on the staff report.
Second.
Hello, City Attorney, you got all that done? Sound like you did a
Yes,
good
you're
job.
incorporating the findings in staff's report that support approval.
Correct.
She said that, yep.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Member Nelson? Yes. Mayor Diesel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Robinson?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Member Cole?
Yes.
It's not the longest wait we ever had, but I know you had to sit there for a while, so thank you, and I'm glad we could get that done for you. Passage unanimously. City Attorney, City Manager.
9E, which is the rezone application number 2-2024, of property located at 1606 South Street. And the city attorney will read this quasi-judicial ordinance 27-2024.
Ordinance number 27, 2024, an ordinance of the City of Titusville, Florida, amending ordinance number 5, 1993 of the City of Titusville by amending the zoning map made a part of said ordinance by reference by changing the single-family high-density R1C zoning district to the multifamily high-density residential R3 zoning district on approximately .44 plus minus acres of property located at 1606 South Street, having Boulevard County parcel ID number 22 35 04 0029, providing for severability, repeal of conflicting ordinances, and providing for an effective date. And again, the disclosure requirements quasi-judicial apply.
Okay.
The applicant stated purpose for the rezone is to increase the number of residential units in order to provide additional housing for the area. The subject property is an unplatted parcel located on South Street. According to the Brevard County Appraisal's Office data, the existing single-family residence on the property was constructed in 1957. The existing single-family high-density R1C zoning district was assigned during a citywide administrative rezone in 1993. The Planning and Zoning Commission, acting as your local planning organization, recommend approval at their August 7, 2024 meeting as 7-0. Mr. Parrish is here to present to you on this matter.
Mr. Parrish, thank you.
The staff report for this agenda item begins on page 396 of your packet. And again, I'll just highlight a few things out of here. As you see, the property is less than half an acre. It has a single-family detached zoning district on it, which is the most intense zoning district. It's the smallest one, lot sizes that we allow in that particular zoning district. And they're requesting to increase it to an R3, which is a high-density multifamily. So essentially, it will increase from 1 residential unit to a potential 6. We find this to be appropriate because of its location. The land use on the property is downtown mixed use, which allows an intense types of uses along this major arterial. The property abuts a major arterial. On page 397 of your packet, you'll see in the tables there, currently the property has a single-family residence on it with that downtown mixed use, which is not being requested to be changed here. So this is strictly only a rezoning request underneath the overlying land use category. So again, requesting from single-family to multifamily zoning. We reviewed the application based on using the criteria in the code, and we find it to be consistent with the rezoning criteria. On page 399 of your packet, at the very bottom, I'll just read through the findings and recommendation. The proposed rezoning to multifamily high-density residential R3 zoning district is consistent with the existing downtown mixed-use future land use category and the city's comprehensive plan. On the next page, page 400 of your packet, we recommend approval of the request to amend the zoning designation from single-family R1C to multifamily high-density residential R3 on this property located at 1606 South Street. The recommendation is based upon the staff analysis, information, and evidence presented, and in accordance with the city charter, the City of Titusville, the Code of Ordinances, and the Land Development Regulations, Section 34-40 of the Code, the adopted comprehensive plan, and the provisions of 163 and 166 of Florida statutes. I'll just refer you to page 404 of your packet, and there's an aerial that shows the location of this property along South Street. And this is the east-west bound portion of South Street. Page 405 of your packet, you'll see the same property with the future land use designation on it, and you can see several properties around it also have the same future land use designation. So this was a planned area anticipated to have more intense uses and higher density. With that, I'll try and answer any questions you have.
Any questions? I think we have another one like that. I see none. Call the cards. No cards. Member Nelson.
Okay. Based on staff's analysis and recommendation findings, I would move to approve rezoning application number 2-2024, 1606 South Street.
Let me digress. But with a scan, I don't see any anyway, but is there an applicant? Okay, I see no applicant. Okay, so we did cards. Now we have the motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Mayor Diesel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Robinson?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Member Cole?
Yes.
Member Nelson?
Passes unanimously. I think we cleaned that up nicely as well. Thank you, staff, for that. The presentations to me have been excellent, by the way. Very clear. I like the aerial photos the best. I really do. I always like to see where it fits in. City Manager.
On to old business. This is 11A, the regular city council meeting invocation. At the August 27th, 2024 meeting, council directed staff to provide additional information on a process with guidelines and/or criteria to invite area churches to provide an invocation for a 6-month period, and following the 6-month period, council will determine whether or not to continue with the invocation or go back to the holding of a moment of silence. Staff has provided examples and procedure guides and criteria, as well as a sample letter for your consideration.
All right. Council, what, you want to comment first or see? Do you have any cards?
One.
Can I call the name out? Tony?
Tony Sheffalo?
Sheffalo Tropic Street. You've gone ahead and persisted in bringing back the exclusionary practice of religious invocations at a government meeting. You're giving up a practice of quiet reflection and collective calmness, which I can often use, a moment to catch our breath and thoughts prior to what often is a long, tumultuous meeting. Instead, you're going to use the yellow pages to invite participants from organized religious entities. I looked up churches. There's 150 listed around Boulevard in East Orange County, but not a single synagogue or mosque. Only the Buddhist Center in Mims made that listing, so I looked up religious organizations. Many fewer, but mostly the same bunch, including the Buddhists, but adding a psychic. Will she be invited? So I ask you again, whose Lord will be invoked? Whose Lord will be left out? What am I to do while someone leading an invocation says things that are blasphemous to me? What else can I say? I like a moment of silence.
Thank you, Tony. Member Cole.
I do have some consternations about this. I've lived all over the world and have been immersed in different religions throughout the world. I looked it up on Google and found out that there are between 4,000 and 10,000 religions in the world. My concern is that I also have consulted friends of mine that are pastors in the community with my consternations on this. I feel that will be opening the door for everybody and anybody to come in to speak and give an invocation. We can't discriminate against any religion that would come in. So while it sounds good to have a religious leader come in and give an invocation, I do have concern because to my knowledge, we've done it twice. The first time, someone brought in a Wiccan in. The second time, we had the list, and oftentimes the pastors would not show up, and we ended up with a moment of silence anyway. So I'm not in favor of this. I am in favor of the moment of silence.
Member Stokel.
I am in favor of this. I have been on council for almost 8 years now, and this has never been an issue. We went to the moment of silence during COVID period of time, just simply because pastors weren't coming, and yes, that's when we did have that moment of silence. But I think staff did a great job making an inclusive list, a great process, and I feel like we should give it a try. And if it becomes an issue, we can go back to the moment of silence, but we did not have an issue for 8 years that I've been on, and I think it's a great way to start our meetings. So I'm in favor of this.
Vice Mayor.
Well, I have been afforded the opportunity over multiple years to pray at the beginning of city council meeting. And I think that it is a wonderful direction to go. I am in favor of it, but if there is a big objection, I don't like moments of silence because they don't do nothing. That's my thoughts, and if we can, I would suggest that we may, if we start having issues and start having problems, we may say that it's a moment of prayer, and you can take this moment and pray any way that you choose to pray. But if it's acceptable to the constituents whom we serve, we look at it as it has to be related to the city or the area in which we serve. If anyone wants, if they're located here in Titusville, it has to be specific so that we can bring some, I believe, joy back to our community and bring us closer together. So I'm in favor of inviting, and if we find that it does not work, maybe we can say, and people object to, maybe we can say it's a moment of prayer. and give everyone that is present the opportunity to pray in the means in which they think whoever they serve will respond. But I think that we do need to, a moment of silence has no value. It doesn't give us anything. That's my thoughts on the matter.
First thing I would do is, to my friend, the vice mayor, I would disagree that the moment of silence means nothing. I think that for me, when you do a moment of silence, I do say a prayer. And I do perhaps quote a Bible verse depending on my day or what's coming up. So that moment of silence has been important to me. Sometimes you may notice, I don't want to get caught up and have people sit there for a minute and a half, but sometimes I'm a little longer than other times depending on what I'm saying to myself. So I do think that a moment of silence has value. I think that at a stadium, when there has been perhaps a tragedy, that's one that normally happens, and there's a moment of silence, I can just feel the moment. So I am not upset with a moment of silence at all. For me, it's been kind of relaxing. And quite honestly, if I go back, there have been a few prayers that I have heard and invocations that want to give me a little opinion about what they think about an issue. I won't get into who, where, what. I will say where. I won't say where, because then you'll know. But I went to an event December, and there was a prayer. And the prayer was wanting the mayor to do things, and could you get the mayor to? I'm like, holy cow! So this prayer turned into a little bit of a opinion, and I think we have to worry about that. I've heard that here, not terribly. I've heard some great prayers, but I think that there is a wonderful thing if you take it seriously, and if you when that moment of silence comes, it's it could be, dear Lord, help me to do the best I can tonight, help whatever. So sometimes instead of listening to what they're saying, maybe I get to say what I say. So I think there's something to be said for that. All that being said, I'm certainly not against an invocation. I fight to the end to make sure that we can continue to have invocations like they do in in Washington, D.C. and Congress and Tallahassee. I would fight for that forever. I just don't know that there's a problem with what we've got going now. I will add a different thing I thought about today, because I kind of had an idea where the votes were going hither, there, and yonder. There's a part of me that feels like this is a topic that should be tabled for a month or so. The reason I say that is, for myself, I have one more meeting this month, not counting the short budget hearings that come up, but one more meeting, and then I have two in October, one and done basically in November. So I won't, this is the guy that deals with that the most. If somebody starts praying for 6 or 7 minutes, I'm the guy that would have to say, hey, we got to move, hit the button or something. So I'm kind of feeling like this might be something that the next council, because there's going to be at least 2 new members on the council, and there's going to be a new mayor. So there's a part of me in an unselfish move would say, maybe this isn't my decision to be involved with right now, because I've only got 4 or 5 meetings and I don't know how long it'll take to even get it back. So if we get it back, I may have nothing to do with it at all. And I've voted for how the next mayor has to start the meetings. I don't know that I think that's the way to do it. I think that maybe we ought to wait and see for the next couple council members to come in. And let them decide where they go with this. But that's just an option. I'm not afraid to vote on anything. I think I've shown that. But I think in an unselfish part of me, again, there was some, when you get done being the head football coach, it's time to let the other guy do his thing. And some of those decisions need to be going down to place. Member Nelson.
I sort of like the moment of silence, and I'll tell you why. That lasts even before COVID. It seems like we would have a preacher, and then we have 2 months with no preacher. And sometimes we'd have the same preacher.
That's true too.
Which sort of makes you feel like, at least I would imagine for the public out there, makes you feel like, oh, we like this church better than we like this church. So in here is talking about you can only speak at 3 council meetings in a year. Mm-hmm. But if people have not replied, that they can fill in. So potentially you have one preacher who might be there every time you turn around. And I think that to me is a problem. And we've had it.
Well, there were times, as you just said, we ended up with more moments of silence anyway because we,
Yeah.
you know.
So I sort of like, I don't care if I call it a moment of silence or a moment of prayer,
I don't either.
but being able to say my prayer to the person, the man I want to pray to, and saying, please get me through tonight.
That's
a couple
exactly
of
right. You say
times.
what you want to say.
You know,
To who you want to say it.
please, give me sage words to speak and try to bring
I don't use the word sage, but yeah.
words of wisdom.
Complicated for me.
Words of wisdom and try to bring people together.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I sort of like the moment of prayer,
Yeah,
the moment of silence, whichever we call it. So,
A little moment of
and I
meditation.
really don't like the idea that one preacher is here all the time or is speaking more than 3 times in a year. So that's my thought.
Member Cole.
I think religion is something that's a very private, personal thing. And the moment of silence gives me an opportunity to reflect. And whether I'm praying or whatever I'm doing, I think I feel that by bringing in clergies from the various religious organizations, we're definitely going to offend somebody. We know that going in. And I just don't feel we need to expose ourselves to that because we get enough criticism as it is sitting up here. And I don't feel like I want to open it up for any more criticism.
Well, I wouldn't vote against it because I'd be worried about criticism. But I would, I mean, I'm serious. I mean, I think that sometimes you got to stand up for what you feel. But like I said, I think that the moment of silence or prayer, I certainly don't think it's without great value.
But I didn't mean that.
No, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, I didn't mean it in the way you took it. I meant that we're opening this up, and we know that this is going to happen. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind it's going to
You
happen.
could get one of those prayers I got that basically was saying, "Dear Lord, please help him do what he's supposed to do," or something. Member Stokel.
Yeah, no, I would just say, you always offend somebody. Like, I think at the end of the day, you have to make a decision based on what you feel is right. We have not had an issue. I think we're talking about issues that aren't even existent or we have a concern about. Another thing that I really enjoyed about it is we did get to see pastors and people from different organizations come and tell us about some of the things they were doing to have that connection. I'm very big on the partnerships with our nonprofits, with our churches. That is how, in my opinion, we have effective government. And in our pledge, we say one nation under God. You're going to offend somebody. I still think this is a nice way to start our meetings. I think we should start with the 6-month thing that, Member Cole, you had said, can we do it for 6 months at the last meeting? I said that was a good compromise. And if something goes wrong, then we can amend it. And if new people on council, if they decide they don't like it when they're in, they could vote to remove it as well. I still think that we should go forward with it. I think staff did a great job. I think we're just talking about issues that we don't have. Are we ready for a motion?
No, I want to say again, I mean, you said when the new council comes in, maybe you can fix it. And I'll say it again, because this is the pitcher or catcher as opposed to playing left field or right field. This is the person who's going to deal with it one way or the other, more than anybody. And there's going to be a new person here no matter what. I still think there's something to be said for letting the next council deal with it. I'm not hearing a lot of support for that, but I want to make sure I'm on the record as saying I'm not applesauce. I'm not trying to be the boss here. I just don't, we're just a matter of weeks away from somebody else sitting in this chair and somebody else sitting in one of the other chairs, and who knows? So that being said, I throw that out there. Otherwise, we'll make a movement.
I will move to approve the guidelines criteria for invocations for the regular city council meetings on the 2nd and 4th Tuesdays at 6:30, and do so on a 6-month basis and revisit in 6 months to see if we want to potentially change the rules.
Second. Motion. Go ahead, I didn't hear you. Did you say second?
I second.
Got a motion and a second, roll call vote.
Vice Mayor Robinson?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Member Cole?
No.
Member Nelson?
No.
Mayor Diesel?
I vote the table. I really do. I'm going to go ahead and stay with the moment of silence, but that's, again, I have nothing wrong with an invocation. I'd like to see you bring it up again with the new council. I don't want to see us change something that somebody else is getting ready to get in the driver's seat. And I'd like the person in the driver's seat to say, okay, let's try that. Let's see what it looks like. So I'm kind of tabling it by saying that I'd like to say no to that, simply to keep it the same. And I'm going to go on record as a church-going guy, believer and all that stuff, that I'm fine with an invocation. I absolutely am proud that we have that up in Washington, D.C. But I also think that, as Member Nelson pointed out, we did have some no-shows. And as I just experienced last Christmas time, that there are those that want to pray and make a point. And once you get them up there on the microphone, we don't have control of what they're going to say. So that being said, I'm going to vote to maintain what we're doing now, which is a no vote to the motion. But I'm not opposed to if you guys turn that around in 3 months and say, you know what, let's go back and readdress that. So at this point, I vote no and stay with the moment of silence, because I think there is value to the moment of silence. And I say a prayer. I'll say that straight up. I say a prayer every time we have that silence. So with that.
So at this point, you have a failed motion to
We
approve.
have a failed motion, 3-2.
So if you want to, it would be ripe for another motion if you wanted to have a motion to do something else that is approved, because right now you just have a failed motion.
We do have a failed motion, and it's 3-2, stay with the moment of silence, as I put it. I don't like to say turn down the invocation. I get that's what technically happened. I'm pleased with staying with the moment of silence. I think it's been valuable to me. To me, it's been valuable, and sometimes it's less valuable when I have somebody who's saying things that I'm like, what? Why do you? I'm doing my best, you know? So that being said, I would say that to the next council and whoever happens to be on it that wants to make that move, that would be the council, because that's going to be 4 years worth of doing that. And I don't want to take 2 weeks of being, or a month and a half of being here and say, this is what we're going to do. I realize it's a 6-week trial, but I almost feel like if we're a 6-week, what was it? 6 months. 6 months trial. Yeah. So 3-2, stay with the moment of silence, technically.
Right, it's a failed motion, so if there is a motion that you want, a moment of silence, or if, currently right now our agenda says invocation, if there's an intent to change that from invocation to moment of silence, certainly there could be another motion at this point, but all we have now is a failed motion.
Right, correct. I also like calling it, by the way, Pastor Robinson, a silent moment of prayer, because at least technically that's what it is for me.
Yeah, and I think that, I'm in favor of prayer, but.
Microphone.
Yes, I know the resistance, and I face it. Don't think that everybody that goes to church that likes to pray. So we won't get into that part of it, but that whatever my thoughts is, I think it's a good idea. I think it's a blessing idea, but I also understand that it's a good way to start. That let's have a moment of prayer, and you pray to whomever you want.
Absolutely. And to clarify my stand, I don't mind doing this. I had some issues when I was head football coach for praying on the field after the game. We didn't have that for a long, long time. And then all of a sudden we did. And there were some concerns, and I won't get into all that, but I remember being quoted in the paper, some things are worth fighting for. I didn't stop praying. So I don't want to come across that I'm an anti-prayer guy. I think in this particular place, in this particular setting, that moment of silence is valuable to me and to others. So I'll leave it at that. It is a sensitive thing. I certainly perhaps expect to see it brought up again with the next people sitting up here. But I just also think that there's something to be said for letting that happen with the next group. City Manager.
On to 11B, which is award of contract of landscape.
Tom, sorry? What was what? 3-2 opposed to changing it. All right, city manager.
Award of contract for landscape gateway. This item was tabled at your regular city council meeting on August 27th at 6:30 PM. On March 10th, 2020, the city council approved work to develop concepts for landscape gateways at various locations within the city. On July 25th, 2021, city council updated the concepts for each gateway location. On August 24th, 2021, city council approved the final design and permitting of the landscape gateways at I-95 interchanges. An excerpt of the final design, which FDOT approval was attached. July 3rd, 2024, city council solicited bids to construct landscape gateway improvements and complete associated work within 13 plan holders, obtained the bid documents out of 303 bid notifications. On August 2nd, 2024, bid submittals were received from 2 respective bidders with the following tabulations. It's recommended the city council approve the award of the contract to Earthscapes Unlimited Incorporated of Coleman, Florida in the amount of $566,173.63 to construct landscape gateway improvements for the city and complete associated work. Authorize the mayor to execute the contract upon approval of the city staff, and additionally approve the associated budget amendments transferring funds from road and street funds to the general fund for accounting purposes. Kevin and Sandy are here to answer any questions that you may have on this project.
Council, any questions? Member Stokel, a couple. Member Stokel.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was one change I think that was made, correct? From last meeting? I thought there was.
I don't think we've made any changes. There was one palm in there, the Chinese fan palm.
Yeah, maybe
There was one tree. I would probably recommend removal of that one.
Okay, that was my
was.
only thing. Yes, I remember that one. There was something in there, so.
I remember that.
Okay, I just want to clarify that.
Member Nelson, that was your question.
That was my question. So we changed the palm trees?
No, there was 26 sable palms and 1 Chinese fan palm at State Road 50. I think that he wanted it for, decorative purposes, but that is found, IFAS considers that possibly invasive. So since it's 1 tree, we could probably replace that with another sable palm. It would be my suggestion.
Okay. Have you looked at the trees over at the Winn-Dixie Plaza?
I did not look at them. I've heard that there were 2 that look to be dead, but the rest seem to be doing pretty well. My guess is that possibly they were when they had shock when they were planted, but I haven't inspected them myself personally.
I drove through the other day because I was curious, and they look pretty sad.
Mm-hmm.
2 of them were dead, and the rest of them, like I said, look pretty sad. So I wouldn't particularly call those healthy. I don't remember if those were certified or not.
I did call, as Kevin said last meeting, we're not landscape architects, but I did call Sally Scalera of IFAS just to get an opinion to, if they had any recommendations moving forward. And she said, yes, all palms get all diseases. Lethal bronzing is and can be an issue, but her recommendation isn't to not plant palms ever again. As we heard earlier in the meeting, we want trees. We want to plant trees. So her recommendation is just try to keep them as healthy as possible. When we plant them, make sure we're putting soil amendments in there to make sure we have the right soil to grow these native trees, and to, put some soil amendments in after we plant them. And then you got to keep an eye on them. If you see one that starts to show possible lethal bronzing, you cut that one down, and you can then test the other trees around it. You can send them off to IFAS, and they'll test them, and if they're good, you keep them. If they're not, you take them down. So we're not saying that they can't, and they won't get this disease or the other diseases, but we can try our best to keep them as healthy as possible.
Did she have any suggestions on maybe trees that might be
She did
better?
not. She did not. She likes sable palms. She asked what we recommended, and I said we didn't hear a recommend of a different tree, so she did not have a different tree to replace it with.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Member Cole.
Sandy, do we get any kind of warranty or guarantee on these trees for a year or so after they're planted?
Yeah, there's 1 year warranty on the trees themselves for replacement.
Okay.
Good for 1 year. All right, call cards.
Kay St. Ange.
Kay St. Ange, Maryland Avenue. The plan for the projects includes the planting of these 26 native palms, and I just heard now that the Chinese fan palm has been removed. They are all susceptible to lethal bronzing disease. In fact, the University of Florida scientist Brian Bader has yet to identify a species of palm tree resistant to the disease. So yes, all palm trees are susceptible to this disease. The FDOT design manual provided to me by Mr. Cook, section 270.2. Now, I will agree with you. I'm not an expert on reading design manuals, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention, okay? It stipulates the use of plants that are resistant to destructive insects and disease, and do not rely on inoculation for survival. Well, that's the situation here. These palms, this disease is spread to these palms by insects. And if they show signs, or actually even hang on a minute. If they show signs, they must be removed, because once they get that disease, there's no cure, okay? The nearby non-symptomatic palms can be injected with antibiotics quarterly for 2 years with hopes that they don't get the disease. Now, it is very helpful to get them approved, certified disease-free of this disease, which costs $75 a tree. But it will not protect these trees going forward. It just means they're disease-free at the moment that you plant them. So it's really a problem. And I would suggest that the city have all palms planted on city property be certified disease-free. So those ones that you want along the lagoon there, they should be certified disease-free. And any tree you see that's getting that funky look, that unhealthy look, they need to be cut down immediately. And that's expensive. You paid a lot of money for these trees, and yeah, you get 1 year tree. 1 year, wow. And you're paying a lot of money for these trees. So, I mean, you need to think about it twice, or maybe more than twice. Yes, the warranty for the project requires replacement of all plant material that is not in satisfactory condition for a calendar year. That's reassuring. But the plants that die with 1 year, because the plants that die, I'm sorry, can I have a little bit more time? I'm really trying to explain this to you. The plants that die within 1 year likely aren't the right plant for the right place. Okay, so the plan calls for planting some non-palms, some other plants that are Chinese as well, not just this Chinese fan palm, but some other fringe flowering plants that are Chinese, and they're not suited for our zone. So I would suggest the council needs to stipulate that any plant that dies be replaced by native plants suited for our zone. That's what they all should be. But, you know, I'm trying to give you a little leeway here, okay? A little leeway. Mayor Diesel wants these projects to look good beyond 18 months. To ensure that, stipulate that the city crews or contractors who begin maintenance after a year maintain these projects at the highest level possible, as good as the downtown landscaping, which keeps looking better and better.
Good.
That's how these gateway entrances should be maintained.
Very good.
That's it.
Thank you.
So these three changes will not require, these small three changes will not require FDOT re-permitting or a new bid, according to Kevin Cook's email that he sent to me. So please consider making those three changes, and if you want, I'll reiterate them. If you ask me a question, I'll reiterate those three changes. Replace with native plants, all trees suitable for our zone, require high-level maintenance, and certify the palms disease-free.
Perfect, thank you. Next card.
Last card is Vicky Conklin.
Vicky Conklin. Hi, Vicky Conklin.
Hello, Vicki Conklin, 2920 Royal Oak Drive. And I just wanted clarification. Seems like $500,000 is a lot of money for this landscaping event. And I thought I understood last meeting that we were going to go back and ask the contractor if they were willing to make changes to incorporate the Brevard native plantings. I'm so impressed with what TEC has done with the Brevard native planting list. I have printed it and given it to many people. It was 20 pages, but I've had people ask me for that. And so we might want to consider that as a future publication the city does, because it's really a great list. People have really welcomed it. So why would we not slow the project down just a bit to make sure that we're doing Brevard native plantings? Because from what I learned from the tree folks is that it takes less water, it takes less maintenance, they're more likely to live longer and look better for a longer period of time. It's a better investment of our money. So did I understand wrong that we were going to go back and see if the contractor would make changes?
Yeah, we were
Or may
looking
I
at
ask that or not?
I know that was something Kevin had talked about.
I asked our landscape architect if that was going to require re-permitting if the city requested changes. He would need to know what changes we request to be able to tell if it has to re-permit. So we didn't ask our contractor because our contractor is not under contract. He's not been awarded a bid, so we don't discuss projects with contractors who don't have contracts with the city. At this point, he has no contract with us to negotiate or to make changes to the contract award. I asked our designer if there was changes, and his response was he can't tell unless we tell him what to change if it has to re-permit through the state. So.
Out of the 15 different types of plants on here, I believe 2 are non-Florida native. They're not all Brevard native, but I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them are. The rest are on our recommended plant list. There are two non-Florida natives, and they're the ruby fringe flower and the blue plumbago. Those are on IFAS as listed as Florida-friendly plants.
Florida-friendly is the next best thing to native?
Florida-friendly means that it can grow under the right conditions, right plant, like right place that you heard from her before. So IFAS doesn't say you have to do 100% Florida native. That's but you try to do as much as you can. And the State Road 406, if you take out the Bahia, because there is no Florida native sod, that's 100% Florida native, not Brevard native,
Okay.
but Florida native. And I think State Road 50 was around 95%.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks. It's a lot of money. I would think we'd
I
want to
agree. I
invest
agree,
taxpayer
certainly
money
is.
really
It's an
wisely.
important project
Thank you.
though, too. So it's both, I agree. Any other cards?
Yes, sir.
Council? Well, any comments on this at all? All right, let's go.
Okay, I'll do the comments. I do like Kay's idea that if the palms or actually the plants are die, that we replace them with Florida plants, Florida native plants or trees, and that it be certified disease-free, the sable palms. And there was something else.
I would like to think we do have a
High level maintenance.
Yeah. I think we do that, though. I do. I think that's one that I check off when you said
Yeah.
that. I think you pointed that out. And matter of fact, some people are concerned we have too much maintenance and not enough tree planting. So I
love
get
it.
that. But that being said,
So with that being said, move to approve the award of a contract to Earthscapes Unlimited to construct landscape gateway improvements for the city and complete associated work. Authorize you to execute the contract upon review and approval of city staff and approve the associated budget amendment.
Second.
A motion and a second, but before we go there, Vice Mayor, you're late.
But did I hear you in your motion, you are saying yes to this? This is move forward with this?
I was saying yes, move forward. So the motion was to award the contract with the certified disease-free sable palms. And that if any of the plants or trees die, that we replace them with natives.
Yeah, and I agree with that because, that as long as we, and I think that was Ms. St. Laurent is trying, let us do our best to make sure that we are planting healthy plants and healthy trees.
Yeah.
Appropriate.
I think that's what I got from what she was saying.
It was a little bit long.
We can't control the life or death of a tree, but we can do our best to make sure they're healthy when they're planted.
Amen. All right, I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Member Cole?
Yes.
Member Nelson? Yes. Mayor Diesel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Robinson?
Yes.
We move forward. Thank you very much. Ms. City Manager.
On to new business item 12A, which is Resolution 16, 2024, canvassing the returns of primary elections held on August 20th, 2024. And staff recommends approving the resolution.
Any cards on that?
Tony Sheffalo?
Shifalo Tropic Street.
You understand.
Yes, we are.
Don't forget your homework.
I can tell you what I was going to say
You
anyway.
You do that.
Here we are, 3 weeks after the primary election for you to certify the results. Good, do it. Here we are, 2 years since 82.57% of the voting citizens approved the right to clean water amendment to the city charter, and you still have not certified that election. Instead, you've wasted over $165,450.84, I think, of taxpayer dollars as of June this year, and 2 years' time that we could have worked on the Indian River Lagoon polluters, and you've cost over $30,000 to private citizens to defend the voting public's decision to demand our right to clean waters. You've used taxpayer funds to sue taxpayers to deny their right to clean water. Couldn't such funds have been to better use, perhaps in preventing future sewer spills? With more expense to come, as the appellate hearing is September 19th, win or lose, we will all have to pay more legal fees. Shame on you, members Nelson, Cole, and Stokel, for continuing this unnecessary lawsuit. So please, certify the mayoral election, and next time, think a little bit before you start suing your citizens.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am, I'm sure.
if I may,
Yes.
I would like to approve resolution numbers 16-2024, canvassing the return of the primary election held on August 20th, 2022 for the mayor seat 4.
Second.
Member Stoker, you also had your light up. Is that?
That was, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a motion by Vice Mayor, a second by Member Stokel. Roll call vote.
Member Cole?
Yes.
Member Nelson?
Yes.
Mayor Diesel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Robinson?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Petitions and requests from the public. There's really nobody left. Keith Lau, you got anything you want to say? This is your moment. You're not looking like you have much to say. Keep him awake over there, will you? All right, City Manager.
Mayor and council reports.
Let's start with Member Stokel.
Space Coast League of Cities meeting last night. I'm trying to think. The number one thing that we need to submit by September 30th, so I'm hopeful that we can think about it from now, and then at our next meeting, they want to know what our legislative priorities will be for Space Coast League of Cities. So if you want to get with city manager between now and our next meeting and you have ideas, please run it by him. So hopefully he can present something to us at our next meeting to decide. So at the next Space Coast League of Cities meeting, they will have priorities from every municipality, and we can decide what our Space Coast League of Cities legislative priorities would be. So that's one. And then two, we had a great presentation on tax abatement, the ad valorem tax abatement that will be on the ballot for the general election. It was from the EDC. I know EDC and FIT have a joint presentation as well. David Jones did the presentation. It was short, to the point, and it made sense as to why, in my opinion, just learning more about it. I think sometimes my opinion has been like, oh, Titusville, Florida is growing, people are coming here, why do we need to have a tax abatement program? But what was interesting is understanding that these industries and businesses, they're getting really great incentive packages from other municipalities, other areas across the state, even outside of Florida, and a business wants to make money. So they're going to go where they feel like they can make the most amount of money. And I think that it's important that this, and this is my opinion, and the presentation did a good job of explaining it, that if this were to pass, it gives us a tool to incentivize industries to come here. And what's really important for me is I'm thinking, and we see home values going up, it's very expensive to try to live or to purchase a home. This program will allow us to incentivize big companies that have to meet a certain minimum salary for employees, for average salary. So it's not just, we're not just saying jobs and it's minimum wage and it's low paying jobs, but these would be upper, higher level positions that would allow our citizens and our residents that live here to get those jobs. And so that's what really sold it for me, is like, it's one thing to say, yeah, we're gonna have jobs and we're creating the space here, but this tax abatement program allows us to be competitive, to get the right jobs and to get these quality, high-paying careers. So not just jobs, but careers for individuals to hopefully be able to purchase homes and to live and have quality of life here. So I just wanted to share that with you. It was a great presentation. And I think as we're going out and we're talking to citizens, I think sometimes the ballots can be a little confusing or there's items on there. But I just want to encourage anyone that's watching and for us just to kind of look into the program, ask questions, and then just share the information. Because for me, again, I know we've had issues here and I'm like, I don't want to give away these tax incentives when we can use them for other things, but you really are looking at it as an investment. So we give away a little bit now, but the return that we're getting is so much more. So that's pretty much it. I don't know if Joe has anything else, but that was the big thing I got from last night.
Yeah. Very good. Vice Mayor?
Yeah.
Quite well. How that works for us. And I have to also say that the city manager has explained it to us over the years, and while we do that quite well as well. Okay.
Member Nelson?
Well, first I want to congratulate Member Cole for placing third in the spelling bee. I'm not sure what he did.
He had a good speller, and he lost him.
Can you clarify that it was a team? It
I
wasn't
tell you
Herman
what,
Cole. He was part
I
of
tell
a
you what,
team.
Herman Cole can't spell.
He was part of a team.
And we did have a last place trophies.
We didn't get that.
They didn't get that, and it was a toilet bowl. He did not get that.
Yeah.
But on a serious note, I was sitting there thinking, we talked about having a public information officer way back. And I was thinking, we had Captain Blair here 2 weeks ago. The man has had a television show for 22 years. And I was like, if we had a public information officer, then that might help get that word out. And secondly, I was reading online a newspaper article talking about the child that was paralyzed. And again, it was the city of Titusville paralyzed this child. I think when I was talking about it before I made the motion, I made it very clear that there was no way to prove this is what happened. But for the paper, it was just Titusville settled a lawsuit for $70,000. They paralyzed a kid. It's all their fault. I'm sitting here thinking Morgan and Morgan would not take a multi-million-dollar lawsuit and settle it for $70,000. So, but people apparently aren't thinking. So I think it's time we sit down and think about having our own public information officer who can put out information about what's really going on. And to that point, I mean, it's like every couple of weeks I hear the river is dead. Titusville isn't doing anything. You know, people are getting sick in the river. And sometimes I get sort of aggravated because I'm like, does anybody go to the city website and look?
Facts don't matter anymore.
They don't. But when we have newspapers also putting out false information, news organizations.
That don't matter to them either.
But
it just doesn't.
Sensationalism.
Let me interrupt because this is so important. I just saw in the news today because I happened to be flipping around. I think it was Channel 6. And they had the Sherwood deal on there. And they talked about the Titusville City Council. The Titusville City Council did this and did that, and the people are upset. They don't care that it's about facts. They don't care that we had nothing to do with that. So basically, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, well, maybe we'll have a bunch of people show up and meet with us at City Council because we messed up on the Sherwood thing. Not one, nobody cares about facts. So, well done, local news. I don't want 6, 3, or 2, one of y'all. 9, 7,
So
somebody.
question, do you guys think it would help or not?
I certainly think it would.
Yes.
I mean, anything we can do, but again, you got to want to know the facts. And quite honestly, a lot of people don't care about facts. The people that saw that on TV today, all they know is the Titusville City Council messed up and got those people mad. And
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I think we have a great communications department. My concern is they do a lot. They're doing this right now. They do talking points. And I think it would be very beneficial, especially as we're entering into the budget season. Now, I can't tell you how many times I get screenshots, tags, or posts specifically on social media about misinformation and disinformation consistently. I don't have the capacity or time to go and clarify facts. Yes, and so I would definitely be in support of that.
We always had a public information officer at the state attorney's office, and that was her job: answer questions, get the facts out, interact with the news people, and make sure that when they put something out, it's factual. And if there's a problem,
well, they're trained in that too.
They're trained in that.
We had one on the school board. We didn't have one on the school board for a long time, but they have one on the school board now.
So if I could, we do have information officers within each department. We have one within the police department, one in fire, and one in the public works section. And Jim Thomas is our community advocate. The issue would be how.
Scott, I'm not sure it's getting through.
It's great for police. No, police, I have no issue. Police is probably the gold standard in my opinion, I will say.
I agree.
So I'm not objecting that we need to engage more. I just don't know.
You don't know
you
what
have
that-
18 FTEs that you're deferring to mid-year on this budget.
Right. So maybe we need 19. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm just sort of like,
It's
we
becoming
never
taxing, I think, is the issue. It's very taxing when we sit here and we spend a lot of hours and time working on things, and then it's consistently now having to correct information. It's a lot.
So if, I don't think we ever had this kind of problem at the SAO. But we had Lynn Bumpus Hooper, who was a retired reporter. She knew all the reporters. She would call them.
So I will also share with you that Satellite Beach did try it.
Okay.
They had a public information officer. As you know, Courtney gave up on it.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to stop when a person has an agenda, whether you tell them the truth or not. they're still going to try to turn it to accomplish their agenda.
But if you have no information,
we
they're
do.
going to fill it with their own.
Yeah. And
So I think that,
Because
again,
you and I have done presentations there talking about what we've done, the 11 things for the Indian River Lagoon. But if you listen to the people that talk about Titusville, it's nothing for the river. And you sat up there, I've heard you sit there and read off what is there.
Yeah.
And they still,
yeah, we are.
Titusville done nothing for the Indian River
We've
Lagoon.
completed more projects than any other city. The only person ahead of us is the Boulevard Zoo. And one of those is, was a $9 million project, water.
the sewer
Yeah,
plant.
so, you know, all you can do is put it out there. I don't know that another person doing that is, but I think it'll be something to
Truth is,
think about.
it's for conveniency. Now, if it's not convenient, you know, truth doesn't count.
I sort of think we've got to try something.
Yeah, thinking outside the box or getting a little creative where it's something that we can easily just direct them back to, and at least we say we did our part. If they still want to believe incorrect information, that's
Right.
on them. But hey, here's a link to this actually, and I mean, and I do it when I can, but it's
You
a
are the
lot.
one.
But
I try.
You are
but-
the one.
But Sarah,
also-
there's 5 of us
I also think
trying to
that,
talk to,
Yeah.
50,000.
50,000.
their manager does a good job in getting us information back to us when.
Yeah, I will say
when
that.
they-
Very,
today,
very
I think it was
quickly.
today or yesterday. He got us, someone wanted to,
yeah.
someone wanted the information. He got that information, more information than we had requested. So those, and then he
Yeah.
informed all of the rest of
Which
the
is-
council so that we can be prepared.
Which is okay. Like, I'm one of those people, and Scott knows this, that I will send. My concern is if I really did it, like for everything I'm getting, it would be multiple times a day. I'd be sending Scott.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
he would, that would be more beyond his job if I sent him everything that I get.
That's your wisdom too.
But
Sarah.
yeah, I know,
That's
but
your, you know the ones that are important. And
yeah, it's just
that's
to
wisdom.
Member Nelson's point. I do feel like maybe getting a little creative. Even at the annual conference, I sat in a session that was really cool. They were talking about some of their information officers and what they do during budget season and how they kind of do some different graphs and turn it into like, I forget, they put together a magazine and it was like the game of life. They got creative and they had a little bit more, I think, time, resources, and money, which again would have to be a discussion that we have with the budget if that's something that's important to us or not. But being creative and being proactive, because I feel like when you are correctly pushing out the right information, you're still going to have, I will say, you will always have people that will
Oh,
put
yeah.
out disinformation, misinformation. But my hope would be that we're able to influence that middle component. You're gonna have people that correct information, people with miss, and then there's this big pool that can be influenced, and I would like to influence them to the accurate, correct information. So they're not being pulled into the disinformation.
And
That would be my hope.
Yeah. And when I talk to people one-on-one,
Correct.
you know, it's fine. You know, I can sit down and say, these are the things we've done. But, you know, no, I don't have time to hit 50,000 people.
But while I don't disagree with having a PIO, I think that if someone asked me a question and I said, well, hey, call this number and talk, that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to try my best to answer the question because these people, you know, I work for these folks, and I'm going to try to answer it. And I can't encourage anybody anymore, but, you know, if I text or call Scott and ask him a question, I get an answer like that.
Same.
And then I can answer the constituent on what the problem is. And I think a part of that, you know, Scott just said that we have 18 FTAs that we have deferred. That means there's 18 slots that are open that we cannot fund. I'm not sure that we're able to do it. While I don't disagree with it,
Right.
I just think that, you know, we just going to have to work a little
I think
bit
it's good
harder
for discussion.
individually to get the information out.
I think that we all agree. I've discussed that with city manager a lot. I'm one of those guys that, you know, if they got, like even today, I would have liked to have had somebody from the city call the news channel and say, no, I almost said a
Right.
bad word, but I held up. But, that just made me sick. And city manager, we've discussed this before. There's reporting and then there's guessing. And it's like, it's Titusville City Council. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's not our jurisdiction. Just because I'm being selfish now, but I think that's out there and something to move forward. The debate started 6 minutes ago. Herman Cole, you got more?
Oh, no.
Okay, I got real facts.
I'll be fast too.
Okay? So if anybody should see my wife, Joyce, I want you to realize that she's one of the luckiest women in the world. Yes, because we just celebrated she has had the opportunity to be married to me for 59 years. I mean, she is lucky, don't you think?
She's lucky to survived it.
We're missing a debate. Do you want a debate right now? We can.
No.
A debate.
No. Hey, congratulations. Seriously, that's awesome. That is truly awesome. That's a blessing. Because, you got to have the health and longevity just to do that. I think that's a blessing.
She got lucky.
I've seen your kids and your grandkids, and that's a blessing.
How about she's just a very patient woman?
Yeah, exactly. I'll conclude. Just a question. I'm sure we do. Do we have an AED in the building? We don't have one in here, though. I have no idea why that hit me today. I'm looking around.
It's downstairs in the lobby.
Okay. So maybe that's why I thought it. All right, that's good to have there. I would, if I was to add anything, I'd say maybe if something happened bad, and I'm assuming all the officers know how to run that thing.
Yeah.
We had them all over Titusville High School. I was scared to death to use it. Of course, you didn't ever want to use it, but we had something.
And you also have the advantage of having a paramedic across the street too.
Well, that's true, but sometimes across the street takes too long. You can get people going up there. Anyway, and I'll just say it again, and certainly there's some personal aspect to this, and I've talked to you about this before, that I just think there's something to be said for the history of our city to have a listing like the city manager thing out there. You have the city managers in the past. I don't know that that's what I'm even looking for, but I'd like to see that, anybody who's been mayor here, I can go back, I've been here a long time, and I can tell you Charlie Lyles was a mayor, and Tom Mariani was a mayor, and Ron Swank was a mayor, and then, of course, we get more recent, and you've got Walt Johnson and Tully. There's history with every one of those guys, and I just think there's something to be said for it. You go over to the First Methodist every time I go in, when I'm coming in late down the side and I look in the pastor, they have a picture of all the pastors. And I really look at those, and some I remember and some I don't, but even just the picture shows the change in time. At Titusville High School, outside the principal's office, we have a listing of all the principals from the beginning and what years they served. And there's some, I don't know, I like that stuff. So I just throw that out there again. I know I've thrown it out there before, and I don't know what I could do with that. I think you guys said you're going to look into it and see, and we'll go from there. Outside of that, I'm done, city manager.
Yes, before I get to my one action item, I'd just like to, you saw Officer Cruz depart. He is a school resource officer, and I think several of the council members went to the breakfast as we started off the school year. So with the recent events in other areas, just keep those guys and the students in your thoughts and prayers, because they truly are doing a great job of identifying troubled students and keeping the population of the schools safe.
Sure do.
And that's they're the go-to people, and I just wanted to recognize Sergeant Cruz as one of our school resource officers. It's customary for City Council to cancel the regularly scheduled 5:30 presentations and 6:30 regular City Council meeting on the fourth Tuesday in December. So I'll need a motion if you choose to do that.
So moved.
Second.
I don't know. I'm not sure I'm for this one.
Get out of here.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? No. No. It passes unanimously.
Under information items, we were showing the dates of the workshop, the budget hearings. The Natural Resources Project that's listed under TEC's meeting tomorrow is not a workshop. It's actually Natural Resources Project. It's being briefed back to the TEC and will eventually come to City Council. But I just wanted to clarify that it is not a public workshop tomorrow night. And subject to your questions, that concludes my portion.
I see none. City Attorney? Meeting, we've accomplished everything. Thank you, guys. It's been wonderful. Meeting adjourned.